Okay, so we're going to open our little quadratics book up to page 11, and we're going to talk about vertex formula. So we're finding either the maximum or minimum value of our parabola, and to find that, we're going to plug in negative b over 2a for our x-coordinate, and then whatever we just found, we're going to plug it into our equation to find our y-coordinate. Now, here's one of the examples that I have on here. Find the vertex of f of x equals 3x squared plus 6x minus 1. So first you're going to identify what a, b, and c are. A is 3, b is 6, and c is negative 1. Now we actually don't need our c for this specific example, so we could just find a and b here. So when we plug in negative b over 2a, we're going to plug in our 6, so negative 6 over 2 times our a, which is 3. We have negative 6 over 6, that is a negative 1. We're going to plug in that number into our equation to find our y value. So we have 3 times negative 1 squared plus 6 times negative 1 minus 1. So that is 3 minus 6 minus 1. If you add those up together, you get negative 4. So that would be your coordinate, negative 1, negative 4. If you were to graph this, you'll notice that that is your minimum value. So let's go ahead and do 2 more examples using the vertex formula. So we have 2x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals f of x. So let's say that our a is 2, our b is negative 4, and our c, which we don't really need for this example, is 1. So using the formula, we'll go ahead and plug in negative b over 2a, which will give us negative 4 over 2 times 2. That will give us 4 over 4, which is 1. So now we're going to plug that in to our equation to get our y value. So f of 1, that means we're plugging in 1 for x, is 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 1. And then if we multiply those out, we have 2 minus 4 plus 1. And then that will give us a negative 1. So our vertex for this equation is 1, negative 1. Now go ahead and try the next example on your own. Remember, identify A, B, and C first. Okay, so our A was 1 because there's nothing in front of the x squared. Our B is 6, and our C is negative 3. So when we put it into the vertex formula, we have negative B over 2A. That gives us a negative 6 over 2 times 1, which gives us negative 3. We're going to plug that in to our equation to find our y value. So we have negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3, and then minus 3. So when we multiply those out, we get 9 minus 18 minus 3. And when you add those all together, you get negative 12. So that is your vertex for this equation. So that was our formula. Now we also might have vertex form. If you remember from when we were doing absolute values, this equation looks very familiar. except for instead of absolute value signs, we have parentheses. So our vertex is going to be our h comma k. Notice that there's a negative sign in front of h, so the sign will change from whatever it is on the inside of here. So let's try those. So we have f of x equals 2 parentheses x minus 1 squared plus 4. So in this case, the 2 doesn't matter here. We're just looking at h and k. So we know our h is 1 and our k is 4. Again, our h sign changes, our k sign stays the same. Now go ahead and pause the video, try the other example. Okay, so if you got -3, -14, you're correct. That is your vertex.